Namaste, I'm the Queen of Cups Montreal. This week's reading features the Moonology deck, and my hope is it will help you set healing intentions for the new moon in Virgo later this week. At this point, I invite you to pick the deck or crystal which resonates strongest for you. In the video description, you will find links for my spiritual services, my Etsy store for healing crystals, and my social media. You will also find timestamps for your chosen reading, which you can use to navigate the video. Thank you for joining me. Please like and share. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications on future readings. As always, love all and harm none. This includes yourself. Namaste, Amazonite group. Thank you for joining me. As I mentioned in the introduction, this reading is all about balancing that very objective, discerning Virgo energy for the new moon coming towards the end of the week. So it's all about Virgoan principles and how we can balance that and bring that in line with our goals, our purpose, and our betterment. So position number 1 is, where am I too critical of others? Where do I judge others harshly? Where can I benefit maybe from giving others a little bit of an easier time? So this is communication is key, new moon in Gemini, so perhaps you need to be more versatile and adaptable when it comes to other people's needs. It could also be that you expect people to anticipate your needs or kind of read your mind, so to speak, because they don't have such as high an emotional IQ as you do. So it could be that you're expecting people to communicate as well as you do. You're expecting people to know what you want before you communicate, or you need to be more adaptable to other people's circumstances and positions. So this is new moon in Gemini. This is something where you are perhaps overly critical of others. Position number 2 is, where are you too critical on yourself? As any Virgo knows, or people familiar with Virgos or the astrology, the zodiac, Virgos can be very hard on themselves. So with this new moon in Virgo, what intentions can you set about going easier on yourself, perhaps celebrating yourself more? Let's take a look here. Okay, I think you put the onus on yourself. This is new moon in Aries. You take the onus on yourself to be action-oriented, to go, 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 to never stop, to never relinquish. And it could be that, you know, sometimes it's okay to rest. Sometimes it's okay to pace yourself. Sometimes it's okay to take time for self-care and just peacefulness. And I think that's what's trying to be conveyed to you here. How are you too critical on yourself? I think you put a lot of pressure on yourself to go, 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 to keep up with the pace, to never quit, and to never just take a breath, because things have to get done. Is that you, Amazonite group? Are you pressuring yourself to stay on the move? Position number 3 is, how can you learn to heal? How can you bring this beautiful caregiving, nurturing energy of Virgo into balance? How can you find humility and yet confidence and the ability to celebrate yourself? What can you heal with this new moon, or what intention can you set to heal this new moon? This popped up. So new moon eclipse, and expect a powerful change. I feel like what's happening here is, expect these changes to take place. Be open to change. Here with the new moon in Gemini, perhaps you're not really open to, you don't like to make decisions on the fly, or you're a little bit, you like to plan and organize. And with the new moon in Aries, I feel like that's also telling me that you like to be a little bit rigid. Be open to not knowing. Be open to unpredictable things. Be open to spontaneity. What can help you heal is to be a little bit more fluid. That's my impression, to be a little bit more fluid and to be a little bit more adaptable, versatile, not so stuck to your planning and your plans, which is hard. I get it. I'm so type A, but it's very hard. But try and be more fluid with this new moon. What higher perspective are you missing? Because Virgos have the ability to really, they don't miss the forest for the trees. They have this ability to take in a grand scheme of things in a higher perspective and just survey it all. New moon in Taurus, prosperity lies ahead. I feel like the message for you, Amazonite group, is like, even if you don't plan everything, even if you can, people aren't necessarily as stable in your life as you'd like them to be, or as predictable, it's still going to be okay. For the most part, it's going to turn out okay. Things are going to be grounded. Things are going to go relatively smoothly. And because you're such a take action type of person, I feel like you'll find your way regardless. Is it always fun or enjoyable to have to find our way in the face of chaos? No, but I think that at the end, the message from Spirit is like, you'll be okay. You'll find your way one way or the other. So I'm going to summarize for you. One way in which you may be too critical of others is not communicating your needs and not perhaps being adaptable to, those people in your life that aren't so stable and plan-oriented and goal-oriented as yourself. How are you too critical on yourself? You're always go, go, go. You always put the onus on yourself to get things done. Sometimes, and position number 3, you can learn from just letting change happen. Nothing is really written in stone. There's too much free will flying around for it to be written in stone. So why don't you allow yourself to flow with the energy a little bit? And ultimately, the higher perspective that can help you bring this all together is that it's going to be okay. It's going to turn out okay. You're going to be okay. And you can find peace in that. So how can you learn to heal? I feel like you need a little bit of like comfort, like stability, comfort, warmth. You didn't become the person that's responsible for everything by accident. A lot of times in your past, I get the impression that you were the only one that can get it done, or people were relying on you very heavily. So I feel like here we have some rhodonite, and the beauty of rhodonite is it has those little black flecks in it, which is a grounding energy, but it also has the pink of the heart chakra, that rosy color of the heart chakra. So what I love about that for you is it's going to give you peace and balance and compassion for yourself and others, but it's also going to give you that grounding and stability in the face of change or an unpredictability. Okay, Amazonite group, thank you for joining me. With every reading, I send out a little love and light and namaste energy. I sincerely hope you received it today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Namaste, guys. Namaste, Smoky Quartz group. Thank you for joining me. As I mentioned in the introduction, this is all about that Virgo energy. We're going to address how that Virgo new moon towards the end of the week can set new intentions about our critical nature towards others, our critical nature towards ourselves. We all know how hard Virgos can be on themselves. How you can learn from the new moon, or what intentions you can put towards healing, and what higher perspective you're missing, because as we know, a Virgo has the great ability to just surmise the total situation and get like this grander, higher view and perspective. They don't miss the forest for the trees, that's for sure. Well, Virgo light doesn't. So let's take a look at position number 1. Where are you too critical of others? You guys, this isn't a judgment. We all in some ways tend to be a little bit critical of others or harsh on others. When they don't meld with what we have in mind, when they don't meld with how we like to do things, it can sometimes lead us to be critical. That's the ego. We all have ego. The ego self is not silent in any of us, let's be honest. All right. This is the waning moon, so I feel like people sometimes don't have that ability to let go, to release, to settle down, to tie up loose ends. Perhaps that's frustrating for you, especially with this Virgo energy under the new moon, the fact that they don't have the ability to be orderly and organized in their lives and relationships, and you just are looking at your friends or your loved ones going like, cut this person loose or tie this up, or can we have resolution in this discussion I was having with you? So perhaps you're critical of others when they don't live and function and relate to you or others in an orderly fashion. Waning moon is all about that release, that rest, that closing up loose ends kind of energy, and perhaps that frustrates you when people leave it open-ended. Where are you too hard on yourself? Once again, no judgment. We all have our aspects of ourselves where we're extremely critical. This is about awareness. I feel that new moon in Leo tells me that, and this card says, confidence is your key to success. So I feel like sometimes, do you berate yourself for not being confident enough? I think that in itself can hurt your confidence in itself. It's like if you're always telling yourself you're not confident enough, you're not fiery enough, you're not driven enough, you don't have that Leo pride and drive and energy, and I feel that perhaps you don't find yourself outgoing enough, or like that Leo energy. For those of you who are familiar with Leo zodiac, they're very outgoing, confident, not afraid of the spotlight. And I think sometimes you take a back seat and perhaps you're critical of yourself. Like, why don't I push myself more to be at the forefront? That's just you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but perhaps that's because I'm used to being in the foreground. I'm kind of like more of a background person, so I can relate to that. But don't be hard on yourself. That could just be your way of interacting, and you can still have a huge effect that way. How can you learn to heal? How can you learn to allow people their messiness? And how can you learn to be okay with the fact that you're not at the front of things, that you're not always at the forefront, you're not maybe an attention seeker, or always out there seeking accolades? Okay, so I think there's some past energy here. This is the South Node. Don't let your past hold you back. So there could be some aspect of yourself in which you felt insecure or unsure of others because there was no closure, or maybe a loved one passed, or a loved one left you or walked out on you when you weren't able to get closure. So that's why it's so triggering for you when those around you don't get closure. They don't leave things neatly and tied up. Also, let go of your past. Confidence is important, but there's all different types of confidence. There could be a quiet confidence that you're more comfortable with. So don't let yourself feel that you're going to be overlooked or disregarded. And I think these two relate to each other in that you're looking and saying, you know, because I wasn't at the forefront, because I didn't go after the attention I wanted, people left me unresolved and didn't seek closure with me. Don't let the past hold you back. Every day is a new day. What higher perspective are you missing in order to not let the past weigh you down, hold you back, and burden you? Okay, new moon in Scorpio. This is all about working through fears. This is about working through challenges. This is about not being in that fight or flight state. So I feel like this is going to need a clarifier, but it's about looking at your fears and your challenges head on so that they don't manifest in ways where you're critical of others or overly critical of yourself. It's about looking at your challenges head on. So I'd like to look at another way in which you can gain a higher perspective. That's more of an action, call to action, as opposed to a call to reflect. Okay, so this is Blue Moon, believe in the impossible. I feel like the best way for you to work through your fears is to believe that things can get better. Believe in like the miracle of humanity, of spirituality, of healing, of growth, of development. Just because people left you in the past, and just because you didn't go after what you wanted in the past, so maybe you felt left, doesn't mean that you're always going to be in this case. Things change, people do change, you change, circumstances change, and you can rise above it. That's your higher perspective. I feel like I summarized it all the way through, but one more time for good effort, for good measure. I feel like perhaps you're too critical of people when they don't seek closure and tidiness and orderliness in their relationships with you or others. You don't like messy people. None of us really like messy people. You're critical of yourself because perhaps you're not living at the forefront of life. And you feel like because you haven't always been attention seeking and attention grabbing, perhaps that people did leave things unresolved for you. The way to heal is to don't let the past hold you back. Work through the past, release, do your shadow work, do your therapy, do your meditation, whatever works for you. It's time to let go of the past. And ultimately, what higher perspective are you missing? Because Virgos are great at higher perspectives. Is to work through your fears by believing, by facing them head on and believing that things can change, circumstances can change, and cycles don't have to repeat. I feel like you need something to like clear it up, transmute stuff. I want you to get some selenite, or in fact, some smoky quartz. But something to transmute negativity, amplify positivity. I feel that you've been let down and disappointed in the past, and I feel like you can definitely benefit from moving forward in the future by transmuting negativity. Let it go, like Elsa said. You guys, with every reading, I send out a little love and light and namaste energy, and I hope you received it today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again next week. Namaste, guys. Namaste, Unakite group. Thank you so much for joining me. As I mentioned in the introduction, this reading is all about the best, the shadow and the light, the best and the worst of Virgo energy. There's going to be a new moon towards the end of this week, and I just want to help you set intentions for the new moon and the lunar cycle ahead. So position number 1 is, where are you too critical of others? Virgos are very discerning, very objective. They have a very critical mind, analytical mind. And the trouble is sometimes we can cut people to the quick with that energy and that mentality. It's a beautiful thing, but like everything in life, there's a shadow and a dark to it, a shadow and light, rather. So, position number 1 is, where are you too critical of others? I feel that, see, full moon in Virgo, isn't that interesting? You are good enough. Full moon in Virgo, perhaps you're too critical of others in that you're feeling like they're taking you down a notch, or not acknowledging your worth, or not acknowledging you, celebrating you, thanking you, showing gratitude towards you. And sometimes people appreciate us. They just have different ways of showing it. Every day, I'm a professional tarot reader, so every day I speak to people who feel like they're not being celebrated or loved, or their partner is not expressing their love as they would want. And sometimes I have to explain to them it's a completely different language. You know, in the 90s, they paid a lot of attention to it. I don't see much talk or attention given to it now, but it's about love language. Some people like gifts. Some people like words. Some people like when you relieve them of their responsibilities, like take their car to get washed, or do the groceries. That shows you that they love them. So it's about speaking the right language. I just want to say you are enough, even if you don't feel like those who you love are showing you it enough or expressing it enough. But you may be critical of others in that they don't celebrate you enough and your good works and your generosity. How are you critical of yourself? New moon in Aquarius. Bring love into the situation. So I feel that you're critical of yourself in that you feel sometimes, do I give enough? Am I giving enough of myself? Am I pouring enough emotion into it? Am I expressive enough? Am I sharing my heart enough? And I feel like that ties back to not feeling good enough, because you're saying, if I was, then the people that loved me, that I loved, would celebrate me more. So that's where you're hard on yourself. You wonder whether you're giving enough of yourself, especially in the emotional sense. How can you learn to heal? Position number 3. It's the mutable moon, which means that allowing yourself to heal is part of just knowing that you can heal, that healing's possible. I'm also a writer, and I wrote an article the other day about how guilt and responsibility are mutually exclusive. Just because you take responsibility for something doesn't mean you're guilty. And I feel that guilt sometimes gets in the way of us owning something, of us taking responsibility for something, and it disempowers us. So here you could be feeling guilty about not giving enough of yourself. And here you need to learn that you have the ability to grow and change, and this is healing for you, just knowing that that opportunity presents itself. And the people around you can also learn to change and grow and celebrate you a lot more as well. So yes, I hope that made sense, but I'll summarize at the end. What higher perspective are you missing? As I mentioned, Virgos are great at taking in the full picture. They don't miss the forest for the trees. They see the whole thing. Virgo light is great at that. So let's take a look here. Your higher perspective, isn't this beautiful? New moon in Cancer, you and your loved ones are safe and loved and cherished. Cancer is a very love-oriented, family, group, collaborative, communal energy. And what it's saying is, well, I'm going to start the summary basically, so I don't repeat myself. But how are you too critical of others? Sometimes you feel like they don't celebrate you enough or express thanks enough or are grateful enough to you for all the beautiful things you do for them. How are you critical of yourself? Because the people around you may not be celebrating you in the way you want. You often feel like, am I giving enough of myself emotionally? Am I open enough? Am I sharing enough of myself? How can you learn to heal is understanding that there is that opportunity to heal. They'll learn how to express their gratitude more. You'll learn that you are enough and what you're doing is enough as long as it comes from the heart. And what is the higher perspective that can help you bring all of this together is that you are loved, you are cherished, you are celebrated, and your loved ones are well taken care of as well. You're doing right by them. You're doing right by them, and you're celebrating them and cherishing them the way you should, and as you are as well. Because I want this opportunity for healing in the crystal I give you, and I want you to understand that there's an opportunity to heal, but also to be crystal avalanche, but also to be able to be engaged with it. And for that, I'll give you malachite, because malachite works in the heart chakra, but it's also a stone of change and transformation. So by keeping this with you with the new moon or incorporating it in your new moon ritual, what you're saying is, I am and those I love are capable of change and transformation, and this is the stone that will help amplify those vibrations. You guys, with every reading, I send out a little love and light and namaste energy. I sincerely hope you received it today. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again next week. Thanks for everything, guys. Namaste.